I'm going to take me a little break here at this shelter with this beautiful view behind me and the sun shining on my back to do some more talking. So some I've been thinking about, not just while I've been hiking today. I've been thinking about a lot of things while I've been hiking today, but something I've been thinking a lot about lately, I guess I mean the last several years, is I've been, and this is all going to tie into, this all I guess kind of ties into the self-study thing and everything, but something I have really been focused on over the last few years of my life is there's a passage in the Bible, "Be still and know that I am God." I'll have to look it up and see what actual verse that is, and I'll tell you, but I've been thinking a lot about that verse over the several years, and like over these past several years, and what does that mean? And I think that it's not overcomplicated. I think that it's as simple as what it says: "Be still and know that I am God." It's Psalm 46:10. Be still and know that I am God. Let's see what the whole verse says. I don't know how much signal I have out here, so we'll see. This is a website that just wants to sell me Bibles. You know, I actually just got a Bible for my backpack, and I meant to put it in there this morning, but I was kind of just throwing my stuff together real quick, and of all things to forget, I forgot that. But anyway, Psalm 46 verse 10, he says, "Be still and know that I am God." And I think it is as simple as those words. And the way I've been trying to incorporate that over the last several years of my life is I've been trying to listen to what God is telling me and understand the different ways in which God communicates with me, which I think is there's a lot of ways he communicates with me, but I think, like, first and foremost is through your interests, not your compulsions, not like self-serving things, but like through things that genuinely interest in you, that like spark and interests, like things that you want to understand more, and just kind of pursuing those interests and following them to whatever doors they lead to and whatever doors they open. That's a big one for me, is interest. So I never plan these conversations out, guys, so I'm trying to again figure out how I want to word this story that I'm going to tell you. But the way I've been incorporating that into my life is just trying to do that, trying to follow my interests, pursue them, make sure that these just aren't like devious compulsions that I want to do, but things that this for self-interest, and not necessarily setting goals for myself anymore, which I know sounds crazy, but I'm trying to take my hands off the wheel and not necessarily set the goals for myself anymore, but just follow those pursuits, those passions, and things like that. One of the ways that I think that this has paid off, not that I think, that I know this has paid off, and where I'm actually seeing like God at work, is through my career. I kind of have to talk about myself somewhat to make this all make sense. And this is where the self-study thing comes into play. But in my personal life, and anybody who knows me knows this, and I don't know, I couldn't tell you exactly why it is, but I'm kind of somebody that people like to go to for advice, or when they need guidance or encouragement or advice. I'm that person for a lot of people. I mean, there's a lot of people in my life that the only time I hear from them is when they're needing something like that, which is okay, because I love, didn't know where my dog was for a minute. I love being that person in other people's lives. I love that people feel comfortable to call me, tell me their stories, let me know what's going on with them. Axel, come here. Come here. He wants to keep on walking. But I love being that person for people. And it's something that's always been. I tried to avoid it for a long time. I had myself convinced that I hated people, and I never truly did. I actually love people. I love talking to people, and I love it when people talk to me. But it just got to be a lot, so I tried to drown it out. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. I've always kind of been that person that people like to come to for advice, encouragement, guidance, just someone to listen to them talk. Well, in my career life, I work in supply chain, or I have worked in supply chain my entire adult life, pretty much since the time I was 20 years old. So for 27 years, I had become miserable. I'd become miserable in my position. Not necessarily any one person's fault that I became miserable in my position. It's just in my role, it became harder and harder to be impactful, and you became, like when I started in supply chain, you were very much a driver of the vehicle, as to where in today's world, and it's not, trying not to be critical of the company I work for, because I don't think this is exclusive to them, but that's not really what organizations want out of their supply chain people anymore. They want cogs in the machine, basically. They want you to click your buttons and do what the system tells you. And that's just not me. That's not fulfilling to me. So I've not been happy in my career for probably the last 4 or 5 years. And I probably talked about this before, but I was convinced I was getting fired. Like at any moment, like anytime my phone rang or I got an instant message from my boss, my first thought was like anxiety induced. Oh, this is it. I thought I was getting fired. Well, at one point about a year ago, well, it's been not quite a year ago, actually. Probably 10 months ago, say almost a year. I finally got to the point where I started inquiring about other jobs. I had been having conversations with my family, with my wife, Lynn, with my daughter, Jalen, my son-in-law, John. I've been talking to them about if living situations needed to change for a while, if I needed to take a pay cut. I had already decided that I would be willing to take a $20,000 pay cut if I had to get out of the role I was in. So I started kind of setting the groundwork to do exactly that, to take a pay cut. And yeah, so I'd already laid the groundwork, and I then just started. This happened one day, and then this other thing happened the next, but I'd started inquiring about other jobs, say on a Monday. I called around and talked to some people and inquired. And then on a Tuesday, I don't know if those are the real days, but on a Tuesday, the very next day, I get a call from my boss, and who I love. If you ever watch this, I love you to death. I love you so much. I hope you know that. But she calls me, and she calls me because a position had come open. Actually, let me back up. That was about 10 months ago that this happened. But probably a year before that, another position opened up in supply chain, which was a production scheduling position, which is what really I'm good at. That's where I started. So I was considering putting in for it. So I spoke with my boss about that. And I needed to get my resume put back together. I don't know whatever happened to the one that I had, but I needed to rebuild my resume and stuff. And as I started to work on those things, I kept getting this overwhelming feeling inside of me that this role as a production scheduler isn't going to make my situation any better. It was just going to change the title, the responsibility, but it wasn't going to make my lack of a sense of fulfillment and things like that. It wasn't going to settle those. And then it kind of went beyond that that also, like, this feeling I had was, if I were to apply for this position and take this position, that I'm somehow moving out of the spot where I am needed the most right now, where God wants me to be. And again, it takes time for me to unpack all those thoughts. And I told you earlier, I'm a visual thinker, so through many hikes, solo hikes, and things like that, and talking to myself out in the woods without a camera, just looking completely crazy, probably, I started to like sort these things out, and through prayer and meditation and all that. But I had this overwhelming feeling that moving into this new role, even though it might provide some temporary relief, it's not the direction I was supposed to move in. It's not where God wanted me to be, that God needed me to stay the course. I was with the people that needed me the most at the time, and with the people that I needed the most at the time too. So I don't want to make it like, again, I'm talking about me and my experience and self-study, and sometimes that might come across as like boastful or prideful. I can assure you, I'm not proud of who I am. I'm happy I am who I am. I actually wouldn't trade it for the world, but I'm not necessarily proud because I haven't always behaved well. But anyway, so I got this overwhelming feeling that I was supposed to stay put. And eventually, my boss calls me and asks me if I had decided to put in for that role or not, because she hadn't heard anything, and I told her no, and that I felt like I was where I was needed at the time being. So I stuck it out. I went against like what my head was telling me, what my desires, what my compulsions wanted me to do, and I went with what I was feeling in my gut, which is what was interesting to me. That's the interest I'm talking about. I've got this overwhelming feeling I'm interested in. I need to understand it more. I need to unpack it. And so I stayed put. So time goes on, and I'm not getting necessarily any happier in the role that I'm in. But looking back now, I understand in hindsight why God wanted me where I was. But time goes on. I'm not really getting any happier. Things aren't really getting better for me as far as my satisfaction with the work that I do. So now we get to the point where I do all the groundwork, and I get to the day where I start inquiring about other jobs. The next day, my boss, that same boss who I had spoken to, say, a year prior about this other role, she calls me, just wanted to know if I have a minute to chat. And I do. So she calls me, and the reason she called me was this new role was opening up, and it was in our organization. The role is called a super user, but it's kind of you're it's not an IT job, but I mean it kind of is. We're training people on our MRP system, which is called SAP. People watching this, some of you are going to be familiar with it for sure. But our company is switching over from one MRP system to the new one, which is SAP. And you're basically a support person. You do the training. When people get stuck or they don't know how to do something, you're the person they call. You're the guru, so to speak. So she tells me that this job is opening up, and that she thinks that I'm the guy for it. She says you would excel in this role. This is what you need to do. Well, here's the thing. I am not technically skilled at all. Like I'm not at all. I've talked about this in videos before. This YouTube thing here, I have to learn every time I do something new. If you see a new little edit thing in one of my videos or anything, I learned to do that day as I was editing. Like, I'm literally having to learn in real time everything that I do, because I don't know. I'm just not a technically skilled person. I'm not a detail-oriented person. I'm much more of a big picture type thinker. I need help getting into the granular details of anything. So I told her, I said, that sounds interesting, but I don't think that I'm the guy. I don't have the skills for this, And she essentially told me, she said, it's not the skills that make you perfect for the job. It's who you are. It's your personality. You're what's needed in this role. You'll learn the job if you're interested. You'll learn what you need to learn, and you'll do well at it. She was very encouraging to me, So I was like, well, this does sound interesting. I think I gave her that. I said, I'm definitely interested. I'd like to know more. So she sets up a call between myself, her, and the person with the job opening, who is my current boss. She sets up a call between the three of us. I'm trying not to use names because I don't know. I just don't want to use people's names without their permission. But she sets up a call with the three of us to discuss what the role is. And it's a funny call because I tell, basically it's the same conversation just with the new manager, but I tell her, I said, this sounds very interesting and to me. I went through the interview process as you would get, like it was an interview process, like it wasn't, it was more of a discussion, but I went through it like it was an interview process. I discussed who I am, basically my worldview, my philosophy, how I see the job and how I think things should be done. I did the sell myself approach. But like not really, because I kept telling her over and over again, I lack the technical skills that I feel like are required for this job. And it's so bizarre because she kept telling me that's okay. And I'm like, essentially think of this as an IT role. Okay. I'm telling the person who's asking me if I'm interested in this job that I don't have computer skills, and their response back is it's okay. And so I tell her like, well, I'm telling her, I like challenge. That's another reason I wasn't real happy in the job. I wasn't feeling challenged anymore either. And I like to feel challenged. I don't like comfort. We've probably talked about that if you've been with me for a while. I don't like being in comfortable positions. I know that sounds weird, a lot to unpack there, but I liked the challenge of the idea of the role. I liked the fact that the job is being a person that people call on for help, because that aligns with part of my personality. This is why I brought this up earlier. That aligns with a part of my with who I am as a person, like my real life. So yeah, I told her that I was interested, but it was like the whole time I might as well have been just shaking my head. No, like I'm not, telling her like, don't do this. I'm not the guy. Like, don't do this. And she kept telling me it's okay. So I think we had I know we had at least one more call where we kind of discussed the job, and it was the same type of thing. I kept saying, I'm not good at this. She kept saying that's okay. And then we had, either a third or fourth call where she actually called and offered me the job. And I accepted. I just accepted it right away. Now in my head, this whole time, I am terrified. So it's like the opposite of that production scheduler job. The production scheduler job, my head is telling me this is right. This is where you want to be. This is where you should go. This is what's going to make you happy. But my gut, my instincts, my interests, my spirit was telling me, don't do it. Stay where you're at. This is where you're needed at this moment in time. This was the opposite of that. This was my head telling me, don't do this. You're going to fail. You can't learn this system. You're never going to be able to understand the intricate details well enough to teach them to somebody else. But my gut, like everything else inside of me, was saying, this is the direction you're supposed to go. And that's, again, getting back to, I feel like that's how God speaks through me the loudest. So I did it. I took the job. I accepted the role. Terrified. I need you to understand. Terrified. I'm still terrified. I'm only 8 months or so into this role. 7 months maybe, into this role. Well, I get into she hires me into the role. Then we start getting into like the projects and stuff. And the first thing she does, I'm trying to make a long story as short as I possibly can. The first thing that she does is she wants me to start creating SOPs for how the new inventory planners who are coming on board to the new system will operate. Like SOPs for all of the transactions within the system that they're going to use on a daily basis. Not necessarily on a day, but they're going to use, period. She wants me to create SOPs. So what did I just say? Like, I don't know how this system works. I don't know the details. I know what buttons to click to do my job every day, but I don't know the system. And she puts me in charge of SAPs. So I'm thinking, like, are you not listening are you not listening to me? Like, you think I'm like exaggerating? You know what I mean? Like, I'm just thinking like, what's, not angrily or anything like that, but I'm just thinking like, you heard me, right? I told you I'm not the guy for this. So, because I'm expecting like SOPs to be given to me and like walk through, but no, she puts me in charge of creating the SOPs. Well, I start creating the SOPs. Shortly after I start creating the SOPs, it's time to start scheduling training sessions with the planners that are coming on board to this new system, because this is happening fast too, y'all. I mean, this is happening fast. Like, it's starting in 5 weeks now from now, and like, I just got hired into this role back in March, so that's a very short amount of time. So I got to start scheduling these training sessions. So now I'm creating SOPs and conducting training sessions, and I have help. I have partner that does most of the heavy lifting on the training session, so don't get me wrong there, but I'm having to carry my weight too, and I'm like, I don't know what I'm freaking doing here. Well, anyway, as time goes on, I keep thinking about these things, and the deeper I get into the role, I'm starting to feel happy again with the work that I do. You know, I had a one-on-one call with my boss just last week, I think, where she was asking me, like, how am I feeling? And I told her, I genuinely believe, I 100% believe that, here, Axel, come here. Here. Stay over here. There's people walking up, so I'm going to grab a hold of him real quick. So anyway, so I told her, I said, I think I am happier than I have ever been in any role since I've worked with this company, because I genuinely am. I love being that person that people call for help. Again, that for the first time in my professional career, or for the first time in my life, my professional career is in line with what my actual life is like. You know, I am now getting paid to be that person for people to call when they need guidance, advice, help, encouragement. People sometimes call me just, I don't think they call me just to vent, but people call me, and sometimes it's a lot of venting, you know? So for the first time in my life, I don't know why I said adult life, in my life period, my career is coming in line with who I am as a person. I'm getting paid for it. Well, then I started thinking about how I didn't know this system, and how I kept telling them that I didn't know this system, that I'm not the person. And I started thinking about how the first thing she had me do was start creating SOPs, and all of a sudden it hit me. I see what she did there. Good morning. Where I was thinking she wasn't listening to me when I was telling her I didn't know the details, I didn't understand the intricate details and all that, where I thought she wasn't listening when she put me in charge of creating all these SOPs, it was actually the exact opposite. She was listening. Not only was she was listening intently, and she put it into practice. She heard me talk about not wanting to get comfortable. That's something I told her multiple times, keep me outside of my comfort zone. That's where I want to be. She heard me saying that I don't understand the intricate details of this system well enough to teach them. She put those things together, whether it was a conscious idea that she was cognizant of, or if it's just in the way that she's wired to think. Either way, she made that connection and gave me that assignment. And through my assignment of creating the SOPs, I had to learn this freaking system's intricate details so that I could teach them. It's like one of the most incredible displays of leadership I've seen in like 20 years, like at least 20 years. Like it's brilliant, you know. So anyway, so I had that realization. I see what she did there. Hey, if you ever watch these videos, I know we talked about this already, but I see what you did there, and it blows my mind. So the point of all this is not to talk about, and you know, I will say it though, like, since I've been doing these training sessions, since I've been in this role, I'm getting so much like positive feedback from people, so many like shout outs and meetings and thank yous, and And I like even had people, like literally I've had more than one person tell me like you're the only thing that's helping me keep my head straight through this process. Because trust me, this is a heavy lift. This, I don't know if y'all know what MRP systems are, and it's basically the computer program that runs the business. You know, tells you what to order, when, how people get paid. It's all those things. This is a heavy lift. So changing from one to another, man, that's no easy task, especially when you've got your everyday job that you still got to get done while you're learning all this new stuff and going through all this training and having to do all these homework assignments. You know, I've had people tell me I'm the only thing that is helping them keep their heads together, and it's like this is this is I don't know. I'm happier than I could have ever imagined being in a career. I thought I was going to have to leave and just do my own thing and risk everything, you know. But the point being, not about how good I am at something. That's not it. This is this is hard work, and it's just coming together. But this is the result. What I'm trying to say is, everything that I'm laying out here, the happiness, the sense of fulfillment in my new role, all these things I'm talking about are the result of me making a conscious effort for simple terms, of letting go and letting God. I stopped setting my own goals. I stopped saying I am going to do this or I'm going to be that, and I started saying I am going to follow my feet to wherever they lead me, and I'm going to let God be the guide. And this is where it's taking me. Not only did it land me in a position that provides fulfillment for me, but it equipped me with the tools and the knowledge and the education and the right people around me to make sure that I'm successful in it, and that I'm not just able to just do it, but that I'm able to excel at it and do well. So I don't know where to go with the conversation from there, but yeah, when I started letting go and letting God and just following my interests, listening and asking myself the questions through the process of self-study, through prayer and meditation, finding out understanding who I am as a person. When I started doing that and like really taking it on, like really putting my energy into climbing that hill, the things just continue to like come into alignment, and it's just it's amazing. And I'd want to share that with people. Like I really want to share that with people, because I'm so grateful to God, for one. Like I trusted God, I put my faith and my trust in God, I let go, and it is landing me exactly where not only do I feel like I'm supposed to be, but also where I want to be. And I could have never done that on my own. I know the person. I mean, the role that I originally applied for. I know the person who took that role. I don't know how happy he is or isn't in the role. We haven't spoken about it or anything like that. But I do know, as I've watched, that role is tough. That is crazy. So if I would have just made my own decisions and followed what my own thoughts, desires, and compulsions were telling me, there's no way for me to prove this, obviously, but I don't believe I would be any happier today than I was then. But just letting go, being still and knowing, be still and know that I am God, being still and knowing that God is God, and listening for his voice in whatever way it's presented, this is where it's taken me. And I'm happier in my career. I'm happier in my life than I've ever been, in general. But I'm happy in my career. I'm happier than I've ever been. I feel like I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be. And I'm grateful for it. So anyway, that's my 20 or 30 minute. I don't know how long was I just talking? 29 minutes. There's my 30-minute rant about letting go and letting God. That's my testimony and my real life example of how that works and how that plays out if you let it. So take that for whatever it's worth. To anybody who stayed long enough to listen, let go, let God, man. Always give the glory to God, give the gratitude to God. look at life as a gift, look at life as the sacred gift that it is. I think that's the reason that it's important that we give thanks and that we are grateful and that we show gratitude and that we praise God. I don't think it's because God is some narcissist who needs us to flatter him all the time. I think it's necessary so that we remember for ourselves that life is a very precious and sacred gift. And if we just open ourselves up and fully allow ourselves to receive it, it gets better than you can ever imagine. My life is so good. My wife is amazing. You guys have seen my family. You've met my family at this point. You've met my closest friends. They're the best. I love them. I love you all so much. I would stack my friends and family against anybody's because they're almost too good to be true, you know. So let go and let God, man. Be grateful, show gratitude, and just know that it's real, and He's here to take care of you and guide you if you let Him. So anyway, there's 30 minutes of that for you. I'm gonna get to hiking and try to knock the rest of this out so I can get home and get ready for this show tonight. It's 10:30. I've been at this now for, let's see, I've been at this now for 2 hours and 35 minutes. I probably got an hour to the end if I bust it straight out, but I am going to stop and let Axel swim at least for a little bit. So yeah, we're going to get on down the trail. We're 4.5 miles in.